Happy first Monday in 2021, a new year. I don't know about you, but I need an afternoon coffee, that's for sure. And there's a couple big news stories, including one that has to do with President Trump and a phone call with election officials in the state of Georgia. And many of you have asked about this story today, so I just wanted to jump on real quick, tell you a little bit about it, a couple things to know about, and we'll continue our coverage on smarternews.com where we have the audio of this phone call as well as a transcript in case you just want to access those resources and listen to this call for yourself. So, a couple things to know about this story. Just the big picture is this. On Saturday, President Trump and election officials in the state of Georgia hold a phone call. We actually don't know exactly how this phone call came together. And the timing is the number one thing I want you to know about this story. The timing matters. This is happening Saturday before lawmakers are sworn into the new Congress on Sunday. We have a major runoff election in the state of Georgia on Tuesday, and you have a joint session of Congress on Wednesday, where we expect certain lawmakers to object to the results of the Electoral College. So there's a lot percolating about still the presidential race of 2020, now that we're in 2021. So the timing is important for this call. The second thing I think you should know about this call is whether or not it was recorded legally. And let me tell you why I think that's important. My first reaction when I saw this news is whether or not media was spreading an illegally obtained phone call, because it's one of the first lessons that you learn as a journalist is that I can't record you in certain states without your consent. In some states, it doesn't matter. So I was curious to look into that. In the state of Georgia, what is the rule? And the reality is, in the state of Georgia and Washington, D.C., where the president is, these are one-party consent areas where only one party has to know that they're recording the phone call. And I thought that was really critical because we still don't know who actually released this call. The Associated Press said that someone that was part of the call released it, but we don't actually know who and why they did it. And that's an important part of the story. But you should know that it is legally obtained. One of the reasons why I was looking into that is that instantly one of the big questions, this is the third point, about this phone call is whether or not any laws were broken. Did President Trump break any laws in talking to election officials about the results in their state? And so this is a matter of debate, and I'll tell you why. Election law, federal election law is very specific, so you cannot coerce or intimidate or threaten election officials. Nobody can, not the President of the United States, not Jenna Lee of Smarter News. None of us can. Hate to break it to you, we're not supposed to do that. The question is, though, about intent, about whether or not the president was intending to do that. And that can be a matter of debate. And one of the reasons is that if the president actually believes that he's right, that the results of the election in Georgia are not true and that there was fraud in the election, then he's not advocating for them to break a law. He's fighting for what he believes is the case. You see what I'm saying? So this is where intent comes into play, and I just think it's important to be aware of that. However, Democrat lawmakers in Congress have already asked the FBI to open a criminal investigation into the president because of the nature of this phone call. And one of the things that the president does in this call, he goes through a list of reasons why he doesn't think that the election results in Georgia are the actual election results as posted, as certified, which is that President-elect Biden won the state of Georgia, the first Democrat to do so in several decades. And so the president goes through a list of this, and one by one, the election officials respond. For the most part, it's a pretty professional call.
Nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
The call lasts for an hour. I listened to the whole thing, and it's going to be debated about whether or not there was a law actually broken, whether or not a criminal investigation actually opens up in this way. Georgia election officials went in front of the microphone again today to talk about this. Some of them are also Republicans as well. So this story, whether or not it becomes more consequential, leads to an investigation, a court case against the president of the United States. We have no way of knowing. We also don't know, again, exactly where the phone call came from, any other additional context that could be important. here's one thing I think is missing in all of this, in the noise about this story. We are in a middle of a moment of a very political week. I know we thought we got through the political period, but there's so much posturing on all sides. And I just think it's important to know that that's taking place. So as you're seeing headlines reporting and there's, unnamed sources and leaked phone calls, there's motivation on all sides to try to angle the press and the media and the American public, quite frankly, in a certain way. So this is why I think it's important. Always in Smarter News, we want to link you back to the sources, because I don't need to tell you how to feel about this. I think if you listen to the phone call, you can make up your own mind. And really, depending on how you feel about the president and how you feel about his style of speaking, you may have a different point of view and how exactly this call is being reported. And I always like giving you access so you can make up your own mind about that. So those are a couple things I think you should know. Again, the timing of the call matters. The fact that it was legally recorded is important, although we don't know who exactly leaked this call. It was leaked to several media outlets. And did the president actually break a law? Is he guilty of a crime here? That's going to be a matter of debate. You're going to hear a lot about it over the next several days for sure. Okay? Any questions that I can just jump on and try to answer for you real quick? I know some of you will be joining us later, and if I can answer a couple questions for you while I'm doing this, that would be great. I know you guys have a lot on your plate, and it takes a little while. It's almost like you're revving your engine, right, to get going into the new year. And it felt like it was like puttering. I'm like, I'm just going to have one little afternoon coffee and get back to work. But I'm glad for this break. So, Linz, you're asking, did he actually break a law? And thank you. Haiti Sauce said Georgia Public Radio actually broke this story. They were one of the first people to have this information. The Washington Post also had it. The Associated Press had it, but held back because they actually wanted to fact check a little bit more before publishing it. So I will make sure that I save this video. And if this is helpful, I'll add some captions, because I know some of you can't always watch. I can't always watch videos just with the audio on. Kelly, you asked, the president did tweet about the call, so that seems to be the reason it was released. So the president did tweet about the call on social media. He did say something about the election officials in Georgia on social media that was, suggesting that they weren't doing their job. And the Secretary of State in Georgia responded to the president and said, and I'm summarizing here, that what the president was saying wasn't true. So there was back and forth on social media before we actually got the call. That is true. All right, guys, I'll let you go. I know you're probably running into your late afternoons and evenings. Any other questions on this story? It's one we'll continue to watch. Again, it is significant. Anytime, any place, any president, any party, if the president of the United States makes this sort of call to election officials in any state, it would be an important story of note. The question, and I know it sounds repetitive, that I'm always asking when I'm looking at these stories for you is like, why does it matter? And will it be consequential to your life? And so these are some of the parts of the story that are still developing, but we'll continue to watch for you. All right, guys, have a great evening, and thanks so much for your support of Smarter News. All this information is linked on smarternews.com.